Welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast, episode 11. My name is John Bunn, and today I am joined by none other than Nick Miller. Say hello, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
As always, our goal is to help connect wedding videographers with others that can help them grow their business, get better at shooting weddings, and improve the wedding industry. Today, we're joined by Daniel McCarthy, CEO of the Musicbed. The Musicbed provides a highly curated selection of songs to filmmakers for use in media projects. They're all about making quality music easily accessible, empowering creatives to tell better stories, and supporting musical artists. Not only do they have some of the best music out there for wedding filmmakers, their customer service is ridiculously good. As a customer myself for years, and Nick as a customer, we're personally excited.
Yes.
Just to chat with Daniel McCarthy. So we would like to welcome Daniel McCarthy.
What's up? Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. We know that you're a busy man.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not that busy, but thanks. It makes me feel great.
Well, it means a lot to us for sure. And from all the wedding filmmaking community, we're, excited to have you on and just chat with, the man behind the scenes with, what we feel is the best music out there for wedding films. So I wanted to jump in to chat with you just right into the conversation to talk today just kind of about Musicbed, what's going on. I know you have the new membership program going on. And then just let you chat about anything new that's going on with the Musicbed. So to start out, Daniel, kind of how did Musicbed get going? Where are you guys located? What's the brief history of the Musicbed?
So we're actually based in Fort Worth, Texas, which is probably not what a lot of people think. Most people think we're either in Nashville or LA or New York, but we were in Fort Worth, Texas, and we actually started. The guy that started the company with me, Nick Carfa, he and I were both in advertising previously, and doing a lot of video work. And so kind of we're filmmakers ourselves, doing a lot of branded content. We were doing a lot of films for nonprofits. And previously we had both shot wedding films kind of early on in our career. And so we were really familiar with the wedding space. So it is fun to be talking wedding films, because while we do a lot more than just wedding films now, it was kind of our very first, it was like our first love, if you will. So
no pun intended.
Yeah. So we really, like, as a lot of, I guess, businesses start with a problem, we were making films, and there just was this was 7 years ago, so there was no good music options. There was great music existed, but you couldn't use it in your film. And then, a bunch of production music libraries existed, but nobody wanted to use that in their film. And so we were kind of stuck in the middle where we had clients that had high expectations and we had high expectations as creatives. And I felt like I was always settling creatively when I would put the song in the film. I have this huge vision and I'm really passionate about this project, but then the song that I have to use kind of downgrades the creative, and I'm left feeling, I'm just kind of left feeling disappointed with the final product. And Nick and I just started talking, and it's like, we're sitting in a coffee shop and having this conversation, and it seems very simple, but it was like, we deserve to use great music in our films. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And it was that idea that ultimately brought us to the point of like, well, how do we make this happen? We have some connections in the music industry. We know filmmakers need this. We know that everyone is having the same frustration as us, and we think we can fix it. Which really sent us on this journey to start signing record labels and artists and publishers and communicating the same thing to them, which is, for a long time, the music industry has misunderstood the filmmaker and what the filmmaker needs. And like, every film has music in it. I mean, it's a need that almost every project that every filmmaker edits needs. Yet for some reason, we haven't figured out how to connect with the music industry, and we haven't figured out how to communicate not only our need, but also our price point and like what the market needs. And like, we know we can't spend $20,000 on a wedding film. There's a certain amount of money that we're willing to spend And I think that whole process really brought us to, which is where we started, which is if I'm a wedding filmmaker, I'm willing to spend $49 for a song. If it's great, I don't want to spend $50 for a bad song, but I'll spend $50 for a really, really good song, which really kind of sent us on this journey to find what we believed as filmmakers were the best artists and the best music for film. And then also on this journey to find like what is the right price point. And that worked for 6 years, and it grew, and we were doing a ton of wedding films, and wedding filmmakers all over the world love us. And we've really been kind of filmmaker first as a company, and said if they need it, we're going to deliver it, and we're going to over deliver, and we're going to be the best music provider for filmmakers that there is. And it was working, and we started, and then from there we grew into commercial projects and advertisements, and it's really just grown, and it took off. And I think what we experienced last year was what I would say is like a bit of I think the good news is that we were still growing, and still growing today very quickly. But what I felt like, I was looking at an industry and saying, there's a problem that's kind of happening in the filmmaking industry, which is that our filmmakers are being asked to produce more content for less money. And some of it is just like where there used to just be one 60-second commercial. Now there's like a 60-second, a 30-second, a 15-second, a 6-second cut down, and then 5 variations of all of them, or like maybe there used to be one wedding highlight reel, but now everyone's offering like 3 or 4 different edits, and the full ceremony edit, and the same day edit, and then the highlight reel. And then, there's all these things. And we kept talking as a company, and the conversation really was this: we believe that our clients are being asked to produce more content. We don't believe necessarily that they're being given more money. And we need to find a way to create a business model where they can use as much music as they need to fulfill their clients' requests without like busting the bank. And we've always been, we're not the cheapest music source, but I also believe we have great music. And so that's where the membership conversation started really last year, was we have to solve this problem. And we believe that there's a lot more filmmakers out there that need great music that can't spend $199 every time they need a song for their, this local business that they're working on or whatever. So it's really been a journey for the last 7 years. And I think I don't feel like we're solving a different problem today than we solved 6 years ago. I think we're solving an evolved market that is different than the market was 6 years ago. And we're just really kind of continuously asking ourselves the question, are we doing as much as we can possibly do for the filmmaker? And is there something else that they need that we're not seeing right now, and how do we fix it? So that was a very long, I'm sorry, you may have to cut that out.
I like it.
No, that was really good. One thing, as you're talking about, last year with evolving and, coming into, ultimately the subscription base, and it kind of seems that that's the world that we live in, right? Like everything is a subscription based product now.
Right.
How much, with the other the music sites, that offered subscriptions before you guys did, was them doing that a big like factor in you guys saying, hey, this is something we need to do? Or have you kind of always just like, obviously you were aware of what other people were doing, but were you like really paying attention, or how did you, I guess, go about all of that?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things at play. One, we had to make sure that our artists were bought in, because we don't own all of our music. So we represent these real musicians that own all their content, and we couldn't just make a gigantic switch like overnight. We had to get their buy-in. So that's why it probably took us a little bit more time than some. I think a lot of the other, and But I mean, I would agree with you, right? Like, I mean, I had this conversation with our team this morning, and this is what we always have to keep at the front of our minds, which is we are the company with the product only one time in our life. We're the customer every other time in our life. I am Musicbed when I'm sitting in this chair, but when I leave, I'm a consumer. You know, I'm a customer of Amazon. I'm a customer of Netflix. I'm a customer at all these places. And we have to make sure that we're treating our, I have opinions about those products, and I have desires, and I have things that I think, I have even what I would consider maybe even entitlements. Like, am I really truly entitled to free 2-day shipping? I don't know. Like,
yes,
but I mean,
absolutely.
But Amazon has said yes, yeah. Like, as a customer, that's what you deserve. You know what I'm saying? And so I think I'm looking at it and saying, what does the current filmmaker need? And I think, yeah, there's other subscription services out there. I think some of them I believe are doing a really good job. I don't think any of them have as good of music, but I do think they serve, like they fill a gap in the industry for sure. And I think for us, we were looking at it and just saying, we started doing surveys in the middle of last year. And the surveys were like really, really, really clear. And the surveys said that 50% of our customers needed a subscription service, and 50% of them wouldn't use a subscription service. And I think that's really where we began to realize, like, we're only serving half the market. Like, we're only serving 50% of filmmakers' needs, because some filmmakers are they have to do they're doing a lot of edits, they're producing a lot of footage, and they don't have money to license for every single one of these songs on Musicbed. And then the other half of the market's like, I do 12 projects a year, or I do 15 projects a year, and like, I'm totally cool just buying a license from you when I need it. And I think that was really the big unlock for us, was like, really, everybody wants to use Musicbed for all their projects. That was one of the questions we asked. Like, who would you use if you could? And it was like, that was like the response to all of them. Like, I would use you guys every time if I could, but sometimes I just can't because I don't have the budget, or, and so the conversation we were having internally is like, I don't like that answer. Like, I want to be a solution for these filmmakers all of the time, not sometimes. And so that's kind of what led to us figuring out what we believe was a pricing model that works really well. And we have a ton of wedding filmmakers that don't do it. That they're like, no, I mean, I only do 6 or 7 a year. Like, I just want to spend $50 every time I need to. But then we have a ton of wedding filmmakers that do 40 weddings a year, and they need 3 songs per wedding. And this is saving them so much money. It's ridiculous. So I think, right. I think it really, what we found was like, we weren't solving every filmmaker's problem. We were only solving some filmmakers' problem, which left me very unsatisfied, because as a business, I want to be able to be there for every filmmaker.
Yeah, I think it's, just listening to you chat, it's cool to just kind of hear the undertones of just the actual, the values that you guys have as a business. I mean, it very much comes through, not only in the quality of just your website, how you've redone that and how it's just so easy to search for music and everything, but more so than that, and we talk about this a lot on the podcast, is just about like doing the little things right over time. Instead of, that quick microwave fix, it's that slow crock pot cook that we're going for. And it really, comes through not only your branding and your website and everything, but just listening to you chat about like always having the consumer in mind first. You've grown to this massive, company that's awesome and growing, but at the same time, you're staying true to your core beliefs. I'd love to hear kind of, the transformation from just you and Nick to where you're at today, and kind of what is it that, sets you apart as a company? What are those core values that you guys hold true today?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a journey. It's been very organic. We, like, the first year we were 4 people. The next year we were 10, 12. And I think there's, the following year we were 22, 23 employees. And now we have a little over 50 people on our team. And
that's awesome.
That's great.
I think we're hiring 5 people at the beginning of the year. So it's, I mean, we're continuously growing. I think from just a kind of leadership, organizational flow perspective, it's very, the early days are so easy because all of your values, you don't really have to write them down. Because they kind of ooze out of you, and everyone on your team like has direct contact with you, so they all just kind of know. Like I don't know, like I've had this conversation. It's like you don't really have to have an internal communication plan. You don't really have to have some of your values. Like some of this stuff you don't really have to have documented because it's like in you and everyone is around you. But then when you go from 15 to 20 to 25 to 35 to and all of a sudden like 4/5 of my team doesn't have direct contact with me on a daily basis. And we have like VPs and we have directors and we have managers. And so all of a sudden, like some of these things, and even I think what ended up being the shift to membership was that some of these core values, you wake up one day and you're like, I don't think everybody knows these things. And I think if everyone knew it, we would be making better decisions. And so I really believe that was a lot of the process of the last few years was, do you know that we're a filmmaker first company? Like, do you know that we care about their project as if it is our project, right? Do you know that the accessibility of great music is our number one thing that we're chasing all of the time? Do you know that we're a company that's generous? Do you know that, so like there's all these kinds of things that, and so like I say, like generosity is one of our values, right? Well, that's not just like, yes, we're generous with our profits. Okay, that's great. But that should be in everything we do. If you're a wedding filmmaker and you license the wrong song and you call me in 9 days and you're like, man, I totally messed up. I didn't, whatever. Like you should not have to you shouldn't have to ask for a manager. You shouldn't have to whatever. Like whoever picked up the phone should say, hey, no problem, man. I got it. It's already refunded. No worries. Do you need anything else? Let me know, right? Like we're generous with our time. We're generous with our resources. So there's a lot I think there that, and then I think, and I even had this conversation today with some of our team, and I think I'll try to figure out how to word this right. But I think a lot of times when you're building a business, it's really easy, and this sounds so crazy when you say it out loud, but it's really easy for you to slip into a place where your customer is actually your enemy or your opponent. And here's what I mean by that, right? If I'm a filmmaker and I'm like working my tail off to make this edit and I'm trying to make this client happy and I'm doing all these things and I'm like in love with my film. And then that client comes back and says like, I don't really like it. Like, can you make this change? Can you do this? You're like personally offended. Right? Because it's like, This is my baby. Yeah, like this is my baby, man. Like, don't talk to me that way. Like, you don't know what's right. Like, you don't know what. But if your sole purpose as the filmmaker is to make the client smile and make them happy and make them want to tell their friends about you, then you treat that conversation much differently. And I think as a company, this is where I don't think we ever really got there, but I think you can slip into this as a company really quickly, right? Where it's like, this is our baby. And like, they should be paying this much money. And if they bought the wrong song, then they shouldn't, whatever. Like you can get real, like almost like, why, like, no, like you don't deserve that. Like, no, man, like don't, like this is our baby. Like this is super valuable. Like, do you know how hard it is to find great music and like what, and all this stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like what? Like they're our customer. Like that's who we exist for. Right. And so I think, I was having this conversation today of just always like when we're walking in the doors every single day, we have to remember we exist for the filmmaker. If it were not for the filmmaker making films and needing great music for those films, none of us would have jobs. That's why we exist, right? And so I think it's just that probably at the top of the list of values. I mean, that's it. Like, we value the filmmaker, we value the creative, we value, like, I personally was a filmmaker, so maybe it's easier for me to say that. I don't know. I mean, I personally not only value the filmmaker, but also value what the filmmaker does. Like, I think film is probably one of the minus the spoken word, like in person, in an audience, I think film is the most powerful way you can communicate a message, right? Like, you can give people goosebumps, you can make people cry, you can change the environment. You can legitimately impact culture. And so I look at the filmmaker and I'm like, you're world changers. Like, you're legitimately taking like, you're creating something from nothing. And the fact that we get to put music on that something blows my mind every day. Like, it is so much fun that we get to do that. And it's just, the bigger you get, the more that you constantly have to remind your team, this is why we do this.
That's great wisdom. That's dropping some wisdom over there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have definitely experienced, Daniel, what you're talking about, licensing a song, and then you get into the edit and, you don't know until you've been doing it for a little while that, this song just doesn't fit with what I'm doing, Right. And, I hop in a chat, with, somebody on your website, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll, take that song away. We'll replace it with this one, no, just don't use it, don't keep the one that you downloaded in the first place. But it's really refreshing to know that, the things that you are preaching and the things that you're saying, that this is what we want our business to be about. I have definitely experienced that, and I have gotten to use that.
That's awesome.
I'll say too, the other day, whenever I was signing up for the memberships, I called in, and someone answered I was surprised that someone just answered the phone. She was super friendly. Like, she took care of everything I needed. She gave me her personal email. I was asking her the difference on a couple of things, and if I wanted to change it in January and just pay in full in January, as opposed to, I was all these things, that just asking these questions. She's like, well, I don't know the answer right now, but let me get your number and I'll call you right back. Within 10 minutes, she called me back and approved whatever it was that I was wanting to have done. And she said, will you please save my email, so in January, when you do have this question, I'll have all the notes and I can take care of you. And I would just like, wow, I have to get better at business, because these guys, that's somebody that I was licensing 40 songs or more a year for the last since you guys started. I'm in Oklahoma. You guys were doing conferences and trade shows, just kind of at different churches that I was at conferences of and things. And so, like, I found you guys early. And so, I've been along for the ride for a while, and it's just, there's just something about taking care of your customer and remembering that they are the customer. The old adage, the customer is always right, kind of thing, where if you do really take good care of them, I've told so many people about how great a customer service this is. And when we're on these wedding forums and people are talking about different companies, I say, well, I use the Musicbed because not only is their music the best, but they take the best care of you. Yes, you're going to pay more, but that's exactly what we're preaching as wedding filmmakers in these groups is, if you want to be the best, charge more and do better and take better. And it's like, it fits exactly with, the core values of my company and Nick's company. And so, it was just really, really cool to hear from you on that side of things. Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate, for me, and this is something I don't really get to say a lot, but it's like, I'm a frugal guy. Like, the last thing I want to do is overpay for something. Honestly, like we were buying, my wife and I were buying a new house a while back, and I remember I feel like I spent 6 or 7 hours trying to save $50 on a refrigerator, and kind of thought, like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. I definitely am a very frugal person. And so, the value kind of conversation, the pricing conversation comes up frequently. And for me, my whole thing is always like, I promise you're paying the least amount of money you could possibly pay for the quality of music you're getting, right?
100%.
So that's kind of like, it's a little bit of a like, it's like, I wish I could be 50% cheaper. The problem is I'd lose all of our artists. So
totally.
So there's a thing for sure. Like if you were in like, the office of our A&R team, I mean, they're constantly selling, they're having to preach this to their artists, like, because our artists obviously are always saying like, you guys aren't charging enough, and from our perspective, it's all about, creating a sustainable career for our artists that, it's kind of walking this tightrope, right? Because it's just like, well, if we charged half of what we charged, we'd lose half of our artists, which is why everybody loves us in the first place, right? So then, so it's just kind of this thing, but I really do believe, I mean, like, from deep down inside of me, I want to be providing music to our clients, for the price that is right, not this ridiculous whatever premium thing. I mean, to be completely honest, like in the day and age that we live in, like you're just not going to win if you're doing that. Like you're just not going to win if you're charging ridiculous prices for something that doesn't deserve it. Like eventually someone's going to come and knock you off. And so I think that even the conversation we have all the time is like making sure that we're not pricing something because we can con someone into paying it. Like we're pricing it because it's what we believe it's worth and what our clients believe it's worth. Like for me, every time someone checks out with a subscription on Musicbed, I want them thinking, this is a great value to me. Like this is worth every penny, right? I mean, and to be completely honest, it's the companies that have done that for us that win, right? All of us that wear glasses and have worn Warby Parkers, or, we've used these brands where we're like, man, this is like a great product and it's totally worth every penny. And that, that to me is why, from our customer service to the quality of the music and the artists that we're releasing all the time, like value should never be in question, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like if our clients are saying like, I don't really know if this is worth it, then we're not doing a good job.
And I will say, like, if we're looking at it, we're artists as well. And, on the heels of what I was kind of mentioning about just charging what you're worth, it's like, I think about the artists. I know a few of them that are, Musicbed artists, and it's like they are working their butts off and they are, doing what they can to produce high quality music. And like what you're saying, by adding people that are the best at what they do, you're going to get the best at, the best. And so, to me, $49 before a membership, for a song from some of these people, it's just like, it was really great value. It was cheap, even though it was more expensive than the other guys.
Right.
So, I do want to jump in next. Just we've been kind of circling around it about the memberships. For those of the people that are listening, I could kind of explain it, but I think the best thing to do would maybe if you could just give us the rundown on what it is that the memberships that we're talking about, what all's included for wedding filmmakers specifically. Maybe a little bit of small commercial work too. Some of us in here are doing that, but what is it? How did it get going? What's the cost? Any details about the membership? Yeah,
so it basically scales. So we have a personal membership for like YouTubers and vloggers, guys that are kind of hobbyists. And that's $9.99 a month. Doesn't cover client work or anything like that. So if you're just, new in the game and you're picking up a camera and you created a YouTube channel and you're making some videos, that's a great option to kind of get started. And then we've got nonprofit memberships that start around $49 a month and kind of scale up. So depending, if you're a church, it's going to depend on the size of your church. If you're a nonprofit, it's going to depend on the size of your nonprofit. And then we have business memberships that also scale. So for a wedding filmmaker, like a wedding business, I believe they start at $79 a month for unlimited music. If you're a small business, 1 to 10 employees, it's $99 a month, and it kind of scales up. So, we don't really feel like a kind of a one size fits all really works, because if you my belief is that if you have 17 employees or 22 employees and you hired a creative team and you got one filmmaker that's working for you making content, I don't think you should be paying the same thing for music as a company that has 5,000 employees. So we've chosen a scaled approach so that we could price small businesses as inexpensively as we could. And then we have enterprise solutions. I mean, we've done lots of really massive deals with really large companies, but they're in a much different boat than a wedding filmmaker or a small business. So the best value is probably that small business license, because it'll cover you not only for your wedding films, but also for any kind of small client work that you're doing. So like a lot of our filmmakers, most of their clients have less than a couple hundred employees. Maybe they do 15 or 20 wedding films a year. They just kind of sit in this world where they're doing 35, 40 projects a year. Most of them are very small. None of them are like big broadcast ad campaigns. And so that $99 or $199 a month option for unlimited music for them is like a super good deal, because it's like previously on Musicbed, if you were going to buy one song, like a single song license, for a business, it'd have been $200. So it's like either for $200 a month or cheaper, you can get as many songs as you want for all of those clients. And then sometimes we have we've had a couple filmmakers that are like, well, all of my clients are small except for this one big one. Which what we've typically done for them is get them a membership that covers everything except for that client. And then, if that client they just need one or two songs, we can do those separate. But for the most part, our memberships cover almost everything that you're doing. And it covers, they cover all streaming, like all digital uses. So any of your Facebook ads and YouTube and social and anything online and Vimeo, all that stuff covers all of your streaming uses, covers any sort of internal corporate use. It covers any sort of external, external uses would be, DVDs or, like maybe it was going to get played at like the football game on the big, the big screen at the football game or whatever, any sort of external trade show, like that kind of stuff. So, it really covers everything except for TV broadcast. And gotcha. From like all of our surveys and the conversations we've had with the vast majority of our clients, most of them are like, honestly, everything we do is digital. I mean, we don't, most of our clients don't do any TV work. They don't do any big ad spots. And I say that most of our small freelance filmmakers, we do have a lot of clients that do that, but they live in a completely different space. So that's how we tried to price kind of our small business memberships.
Yeah. A couple of questions and things I wanted to mention. First of all, tell me about Sync ID with YouTube, how that works.
Yeah. So one of the big deals, because we represent real artists, I guess is the best way to put it, because we represent bands and like those bands all have copyrighted music. One of the big hindrances to creating a subscription service, specifically one for YouTube, was that when you use a song on Musicbed, it's going to get flagged on YouTube. It's people I think for a long time thought like getting flagged on YouTube was like the devil, like, oh my God, the world is ending. Like I'm going to lose my, Sync ID. Basically, like, I think if you were on YouTube 3 or 4 years ago, even last year, it's like, I put a song up, it gets flagged, like I did something wrong. And that's kind of how YouTube made people feel. Like,
right.
If you upload a video and we flag it in Content ID, like you're in trouble. And it's been a big process for us of telling people like, you're not in trouble. Like it's just YouTube telling you that like you're using, like they've noticed that you're using a great song in your film. Like that's basically what they're saying. Like you're not using.
I think that.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say, I think that has been maybe a perception that I have seen in the wedding filmmaking community is with all these, YouTube flags before you started the membership, that the Musicbed didn't care about the wedding filmmaker.
Right.
And I know in listening to what you're saying about your business, I absolutely know that is not the case at all. But I think there's some people that were just really frustrated and they're like, I don't like Musicbed because they don't care about me. But obviously
100%.
that's not true.
I would see in these forums people like, well, I don't use Musicbed because all my music gets flagged. And from the beginning of whenever mine would get flagged, I would just go into YouTube and file a claim. And usually within a week it would get dropped or whatever. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? I use Musicbed all the time. I have thousands of subscribers on YouTube and I'm still able to, like, I'm still using this music without it being flagged. I think just the perception was, oh, we're not, we can't use Musicbed because it gets flagged. If I use another company, they don't flag it. But it's what you're saying is true, is that you're using, not to belittle or belittle, the artists, but artists that have like a bigger following, a bigger name, and actual copyrighted music. And then jumping back into the Sync ID, which I think is awesome. The whole new, tell me a little more just about like how that works now for clearing music.
Yeah. So, kind of to go back to what you guys said, like, I think for a while, this perception was like, well, I licensed a song, I put it on YouTube, it got flagged. So clearly Musicbed doesn't care about us. What was happening behind the scenes was we're representing big artists and we don't have control of all of their performance royalties and copyrights. And like, so flags were coming from all over the place. And what you're saying is totally true, right? Which is you could use Musicbed, you could upload it to YouTube, a claim comes, you file a claim, you reach out to us, we can take care of it. The problem is, if I go back to our conversation earlier, what does the filmmaker actually deserve? The filmmaker deserves for this thing to be automated. That's what they deserve. Like, they deserve to be able to upload their video and not worry about it. For us to do that, it was very complicated in times. Like, there's a lot of time because we had to go to all of our artists. They had to sign up with our content ID system, et cetera, et cetera. So what Sync ID does is it allows you to use a song within Musicbed membership, and we will clear your claim on YouTube for you instantaneously. I mean, sometimes it happens within 6 or 7 seconds. You're still going to get the claim, but then you're going to it's going to get cleared. And we've had this conversation with our clients. Like, at the end of the day, this is YouTube we're talking about. So they could screw this up for us at any moment. They could change their system. They could decide they're going to do whatever. And our commitment is to continue to innovate and continue to upgrade that platform as YouTube continues to change, so that if I'm a filmmaker, if I'm a customer of Musicbed, I never have to worry. And I think since we've done it, we've probably had, we have literally had tens of thousands of licenses come through, and I think we've probably had 50 problems. So, and I say problem where someone like yourself has to be like, hey, like, I uploaded my video, it got flagged, like, I think maybe something's up, like, it didn't get cleared, and then we take care of it within the day typically. So far, it's been a very, very successful platform, and we're continuing to, it's part of what I love about our team is like they're continuing to innovate it already. Like, our membership options, the Sync ID platform, like, it's all like, most of those things are already in like 2.0, 3.0, like variations, continuously making it better. But the short answer is Sync ID clears your video on YouTube, so you don't have to worry about it.
Awesome.
I gave you a very complex answer, but it's not that it's complicated on our end. It's not complicated on your end.
Right. I had a problem when I first got the membership. I didn't understand. I don't know. It was probably in some reading material, and why would I read that? And so I didn't, copy the Sync ID number, into my description of my video. So I was still getting all these dings, and I was like, and they weren't going away. And I was like, what's going on? And then I just reached out to one of your customer service people, and they're like, oh, put that number in every video and then I'll take care of it, which I have from then on, and it's been fine.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's like magic, really.
Yeah.
It's fun to it's just like, if I forget to put the Music ID number into my description or whatever, it will flag it and say there's a copyright claim, and I'll just like go in and copy and paste the Sync ID, and it's like 30 seconds later I get an email saying your video has been cleared, and it's just like da 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 da. I feel like I've won or something.
It's magic. So our whole goal is to make you feel like we're Disney World. That's the goal. Like, it's just magic.
You're getting close for sure.
Everything's magic.
I know when you first started the membership, it wasn't the full library. And I think that I heard some people saying, oh, well, they don't offer all their music. They're only offering the songs that aren't getting, played much or sold much. And what I could see as a business owner myself is that like you were behind the scenes probably working your tails off trying to get every single artist, and it's like a process that you can't just like click a button and use everyone. Is it the full library? What are you guys doing to get more people signed up with it, or how does that work? Are you guys pretty much everybody at this point that of your artists? Where's that at?
No, thank you for asking that question. I think I'm gonna try to figure out the least complicated way to answer you. So yeah, we basically all of our great artists are on the subscription platform. So we're not there yet. We're not at 100% yet, but that's our goal. And I think the misconception is like most of the times if you start a subscription and not everything is available, I think your gut reaction would be like only the bad stuff is available, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually the opposite. And the reason it's the opposite is because our best artists are the ones that love us the most. Like the artists that you guys are licensing all the time, the Tony Andersons and the Rorys and the Ryan Talberts and, like all of these phenomenal artists that everyone loves and the Jennerdynes and like, so it's all of these big artists, that are like, heck yeah, man, we're in. Like sign us up, dude, whatever you want. Because they're the ones that love Musicbed and they're the ones that love the filmmaker and you know what I mean? So it's actually some of the artists that don't get as many licenses that, we're still having to work through that process. I mean, that's a little bit like sense. Transparently behind the scenes. That's the deal. So, like 100% of our top 25 artists are in membership. Yep. And if you look through the catalog, I mean, it really is like, it's most of it. And I think, like there's no guarantees, but my goal is for the next year to get as close to 100% as possible. And I think it's just, it's just a process, and Content ID is one of the biggest things in there. There's just some of our artists want to be in membership, but they can't transition their Content ID to us yet. And so we're just waiting for like all the stars to align so we can move them over. So, it really is like, it's a process, but yeah, I mean, the goal is for everything to be in.
I was definitely pleasantly surprised, as a person getting ready to sign up. I obviously, on your website, there's a little toggle button where you can see like, is it a Musicbed membership or not, which makes it easy, which helped. But just like all the artists that I had, I just looked back over the last year and like literally every single song that I had purchased was available if I were, if the membership would have existed, and I would have saved a ton of money. And so it was an easy no-brainer, like the day that the subscriptions came out, to sign up.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Go ahead.
So obviously the subscription thing has been a big deal that you've just launched in this fall. If you can, is there any, do you have any other dreams, to kind of where maybe Musicbed is going to go, in the future? I know that, some other sites are starting to offer like sound effects and like that kind of stuff. Are you guys interested in doing anything else like that? Or are you pretty much set on, no, we're just going to provide music?
No, that's a good question. I don't think we'll ever do sound effects. You know what? We might do that one day for like an April Fool's joke, which would be really funny. But I don't think we'll ever do sound effects. I think we're going to, I think we want to conquer the hill that is music for film. Where I think that expands to, is some of the stuff that we've already rolled out this year, but it hasn't. I mean, it's still, it's still growing. I mean, we've been doing custom music, like original music, where 3 years ago, if you wanted to use Ryan Talbert, you needed to find one of his songs and place it in your film. Well, now we've created the process where you can actually hire Ryan, work with him on your project. And so I think original music is a big deal for that. And I think just as far as like what is the future of Musicbed, I think we still have to refine membership. I think we need to make it simpler. I think we need We need to make sure that the flow is simple, that the pricing is right, that it's legitimately what a filmmaker needs. And I think we have to keep refining that and making it better. And then I think it's just continuing to get better and better artists, and I say better is like music quality of music is very relative. Like it's what's good to you may not be good to somebody else. And what we've really prided ourselves on for the last, since we started, was being filmmakers and creatives ourselves. Like just because that song is good on the radio and it's good to listen to doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make a film better. And we want to represent the absolute best artists that make great music for film. And I think that will evolve over time, but really, I think it's just, there's a lot of new creatives out there that need music. I mean, I would say, 7 years ago, yes, there was wedding filmmakers. There was a bunch of churches that needed stuff. And then there's a bunch of freelance filmmakers doing small business stuff that need stuff, right? I mean, now there's 9.5 million YouTubers that, they're making content all day long. And 95, we've had some people say like, why do you charge YouTubers $9.99? I'm like, listen, if you have less than 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, it's costing you money to make content. Like you're not making any money, right? I mean, legitimately, I mean, these people are grabbing cameras and starting YouTube channels, and they're not making a dime. And so, but I believe in that group of people. There's a bunch of filmmakers that are going to grow and create production companies and become a freelance filmmaker and start making content for larger brands. And I think that they should have access to really great music from the start. It's how I kind of, I feel that way about anyone that's in film school and these people that are starting out with their camera. Like I want them to have access to all of the best gear that they can possibly have access to the best music that they could possibly have access to, and see where their career takes them. And so, I think the future is really, really bright for Musicbed because there's no shortage of people starting into their filmmaking career. And there's definitely no shortage of brands and companies and people that need films. Like if you're a filmmaker right now, you're in a great spot because you're being told, I mean, every business on the planet is being preached to by everybody. Like you need more content, you need more content, you need more ads. Like you need to put more videos on Facebook. You need to, it is literally everywhere. And so if you are positioned as a filmmaker right now to solve that problem for customers, like there's no end in sight. And I think for us, we just want to make sure that we're along for the journey with everybody.
Yeah, man, that's all really great. I like hearing about, your big ideas and all that. And kind of speaking of that, we know that actually today when this episode drops, you are, premiering something, new with Musicbed. Do you want to share with our listeners, what that is and what that's all about?
Yes. So we are launching a massive giveaway today. It is called 12 Days of Giveaways. Kind of like Christmas time.
Sure.
We're pretty pumped about it. I mean, we've become like, I feel like we're all really blessed to have built a bunch of great relationships in the industry with Rode and Freefly and like a lot of these people that I really respect that are doing some phenomenal things in the filmmaking industry. And we basically just got all of our friends together and said, like, would you guys all contribute to this so that we can do a huge giveaway the month of December? And they're doing it. So if you want to, you can go like check out our Instagram. It's just at Musicbed. And you'll see all the details there. You can enter to win every single day. And then on the 12th day, we're doing a huge grand prize winner as well. So it would be real fun. Nothing crazy there. Just a bunch of gear, that we're giving away. So it should be really a lot of gear. And then we're giving away Musicbed subscriptions. We're giving away credits to Film Supply, just a lot of fun stuff in it.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see what all is included in that. I'll be checking that out today. I did want to ask if somebody has never used the Musicbed, if our listeners are interested, how would you recommend them getting going with you all? Would you recommend, is there some kind of like get going pack, or is there, do they just buy their first song, or how would somebody that's just kind of toying with it, is there something that they should be doing to like get acquainted with the Musicbed?
Yeah, you can. The best thing is just to go to musicbed.com and create an account. It's free, and it will unlock full-length previews. It'll unlock preview downloads, so you can download songs, try them in your projects. And there's really there's no friction there, and there's no, if you love it, great. If you don't love it, that's also fine. And I think that's honestly the best thing is create an account, browse, see if you like some music, and then drag that stuff into your Premiere timeline and see if you like it. We had a saying that was on everything a couple of years ago called "You know it when you hear it," which was kind of like, it's like, how do you know the right song for your project? Like every creative knows that moment where they finally, like, it's done, like, it when you hear it. And I think, everybody says they have great music. Everybody says they have, that's all, it's all fine and good. I think the best thing you can do is drag a couple of songs into your timeline and see if it makes you feel different, see if it makes your project different, see if you can notice a difference, because I think that to me is what we believe, is that we believe that if you're using music from Musicbed, that we can help you elevate your project. But the proof is in the pudding, that's what my parents used to say. It's like, go do it and see if what I'm saying is actually true.
As someone that has been making, wedding films for, 6-7 years, I have always said that the Musicbed is the best source of music, not only with their selection, the quality, and one thing that I'm really coming to appreciate when in my wedding videos is like lyric songs, using songs that have more lyrics and stuff. And that is, there's tons of things that Musicbed excels at. And in my opinion, the lyrical stuff that you guys have is just leaps and bounds beyond other services. So I really appreciate you taking the time today, Daniel, and talking to us about this company, and also sharing that you really do care about us, the filmmakers, and the whole reason that you're doing this is because you want to help us create better content and then just make our lives easier. So thank you so much, one, for starting your company, and then two, for taking the time to talk with us today.
Hey, thank y'all so much, man. I appreciate it.
If you're not a part of the Musicbed, you can head over to their website. It's just musicbed.com. Check them out on Instagram, also Musicbed. Make sure you check out the 12 days of giveaways that Musicbed is doing. I'm sure that the stuff that they're going to give away is going to be awesome, and you're going to want to check that out. Again, thank you, Daniel, for spending the time talking with us. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.